The gospel is about 4 men carrying a paralytic to Christ. As my friend Elise says, the obvious doesn't need an explanation. I've learned that, and I'm going to keep remembering that, Elise. This is a very obvious thing. 4 men carry a paralytic to Christ. But underneath it, you can see many things. And the children reminded me in the chapel to draw a parallel between this gospel and the gospel where Christ goes to the lake of Bethesda and finds a paralytic who had been laying down there 38 years and nobody helped him. Theodore asked me, how did he survive there 38 years if he couldn't move? Well, that was a very provocative question. I had never thought about it. And I immediately thought about it this way. When somebody is in very dire need, sometimes we go as far as to give them just enough to survive. You know, when we go down the street, we see a beggar, we throw them enough coin to go to Dunkin' Donuts and buy junk food and survive, but we never restore them to the society as a worthy member of the society. We don't go that far. We just give them enough to survive, and rightly enough, Christ says, the poor you will always have with you, because we don't take care of them enough. We just keep them poor, and we give them enough to survive. However, this man, 38 years, had been sitting at the side of this pool, and nobody gave him a hand to pull him into the water so that he can be healed. So they gave him coins to survive, but they never restored him to his ultimate image of human being. And in that conversation between Christ and him, he says to Christ, I have no human being. In the English translation it says nobody. That doesn't make any sense. In the Greek it says, then echo anthropos, I don't have a human being to take me and put me in the water. And the church fathers say, pay attention to that word anthropos, the word human. There were thousands of people around, but there was no human being around. There were people around, but no human beings to take him and put him in the water. What's the difference between people and human beings? There is a Russian comedian. He stands in front of this skyscraper, maybe in New York or whatever, and there's crowds going everywhere. And he says, there's so many people, but there's no one to talk to, because everybody's busy. They're just moving with their stuff. My spiritual advisor told me this expression, water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. That's what this man was experiencing. There was water everywhere, but there was nothing, no drop of water to be drunk. There was no human being to take him into the pool. In today's gospel, we are very joyfully seeing that this man, this paralytic, not one man, but he had 4 friends. And these 4 men were carrying him to Christ. That's what it means to be a human being. Because Christ is the ultimate perfect human being. We're created in His image and likeness. He came for our salvation. He sacrificed His life for us. That's an example of a human being. So in order to become a human being, we need to be able to lay down our life for our friend. And today, these 4 men had laid down their life for their friend. They had left everything they had done. Remember that story? It says that I have bought an oxen, I can't go to the party. I have gotten married, I can't do this. I have bought a land, I can't do... These men had left their lands, their oxen, their wives, their children, and they had dedicated their life to their brother who was paralyzed. And not for anything else, but to bring him to Christ. But the story doesn't always have good things in it only. They come to Christ, and what do they find? They find Christ in a house, and the house is packed. And outside, this crowd, the door is clogged. Nobody could go in. So they are stuck. Years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I went to church on Easter Day, I believe, or maybe Palm Sunday. We came very early, there was nobody in the church. So everything started, and then people started coming, and then the church was packed. And then the narthex was packed, and then the outside, there was a crowd outside. Michael was very tiny and he was making some noises. So once in a while when he started to cry, I would take him outside, calm him down and bring him back in. Well, lo and behold, by the end of the liturgy, he started moving. I took him out and I couldn't get in anymore because the narthex was packed and the outside was packed. I made my way to the pews and I found the pews locked. They had put a rope across the pews, and a parish council member was standing there like a military guard. I said, I need to go in. My wife is sitting in the pew. She said, none of this crowd is getting in. People in the church will receive communion, and then others. I said, what are you talking about? My wife is sitting there. I need to go sit with her. No, she said, I'm not doing it. So I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story. I received communion that day with my wife. But today we find that these people have the same situation. They have a paralyzed man in their hands. They come to the door and the door is clogged. Nobody's moving. Imagine if the ambulance was going and all the cars were pulling in front of it and trying to stop it. What kind of society was this? And this man had to go up there, up to the roof, dig the roof, and lower their friend in front of Christ. Little Catherine said, they were persistent. They didn't give up. Yes, they were very persistent. In this story we see that these men are very persistent and they bring their friend to Christ. How does this speak to our life? One other thing that I noticed, in the gospel it says, and then they left. How come that they couldn't get in, but they could get out very easily? They didn't go through the roof. They didn't climb up to the roof. They went through the door. So this is very much speaking to us today. Getting in is very, very difficult. Getting out is very easy. You just get upset and leave. That's it. You're done. Getting in and staying and participating, engaging, serving is very difficult. You have all kinds of obstacles, invisible barriers starting from the end of the pews over there, all the way to the bottom of the parking lot. The TV at home, all kinds of things that our children are engaged with. Bringing them to church is very difficult. And it doesn't have to be a crowd at the door stopping you, or a parish council member at the pews blocking the pews and you can't get in there. You are not receiving communion today. That's not going to happen. But there are other things in the world that are blocking our way to the church. And sometimes it takes 4 people to bring one person to Christ. And that is what we're called to. Those of us who are here, we are not paralyzed. We are not kept somewhere else. And we are not unable to come to Christ. It is our job, our duty, to bring someone to Christ. We make sure when somebody dies, we carry them out of the church. But we do not put as much effort to bring them into the church when they are still alive. And that's very sad. Unfortunately, every funeral I do, almost every funeral I do, I have to apologize to people and say, I don't know the person, because they haven't been part of the church. They come to church when they die. So, dear brothers and sisters, today the gospel is teaching us about supporting one another, bringing one another to church, keeping each other in the church, and being with Christ, in communion with Him, and removing obstacles. Removing any obstacle you see, please remove it. Let me know what obstacle is there for someone coming to church and not being able to get in, to be part of the community, to engage with the ministries, to serve Christ ultimately, now and forever, and to the ages of ages. Amen. Thank you, and God bless you.